Imagine running a business where more than half of your workforce walks out the door every single year. You spend thousands of dollars recruiting them, hours training them, and just as they start hitting their stride, they pack up their shears and leave. In the beauty and wellness industry, this is not just a hypothetical scenario, it is the harsh reality. The average salon loses about 60% of its staff annually. That is a massive financial drain and an emotional roller coaster for owners. Why is this industry-wide bleeding so common, and why has no one been able to stop it?
It comes down to a fundamental design flaw in how the industry operates. For decades, every single software tool, scheduling app, and payroll system was built with only one person in mind: the salon owner. The systems were designed to track inventory, manage the front desk, and process transactions. The actual creative professionals, the stylists standing at the chair for 8 to 10 hours a day, were treated as secondary users. They were expected to just adapt to whatever system the owner chose. But when you build tools that ignore the daily experience of the people generating the revenue, you build an environment where those people feel undervalued and disconnected.
So, when we talk about why a stylist decides to leave a salon, it is rarely just about wanting a change of scenery. There are very specific, recurring pain points that drive them to make that decision. What are the main triggers that push someone to finally say they have had enough?
It usually boils down to 3 core issues. First is financial ambiguity. Stylists often feel their compensation is a black box. They do not have clear visibility into how their commissions are calculated, how retail sales affect their paycheck, or how tips are distributed. Second is a total lack of control over their time. Schedules are often handed down from above with little input, leading to surprise shifts and friction when trying to request time off. And third, there is no sense of professional ownership. Stylists feel like they are just renting a space or working as a cog in someone else's machine. They do not feel like they are building their own career or brand within the salon.
It is interesting because there are massive software platforms out there that dominate the space. Names like Vagaro, Boulevard, Mangament, and Square are everywhere. Are you saying they all miss these points?
They do, because their architecture is fundamentally top-down. They optimize for the front desk and the owner dashboard. They make it easy to run reports and process credit cards, which is important, but they do not address the day-to-day anxiety of the stylist. When a platform only serves the administrator, the stylists feel like they are being monitored rather than supported. By shifting the focus and optimizing for the chair instead of the front desk, you change the entire dynamic of the salon.
Let us break down the first pillar you mentioned, money. Commission structures in salons can get incredibly complicated. You have flat rates, tiered systems, product sales, and tips. How do you make that transparent and motivating for a stylist?
You have to make the math visible and instant. Most traditional systems require the owner to run manual spreadsheets at the end of the pay period to calculate tiers. For example, a stylist might earn 40% commission on their first $2,000 of services, 45% on the next $2,000, and 50% on everything above that. When that calculation happens behind closed doors, it breeds distrust. A modern system needs to automate this and show the stylist exactly where they stand in real time on their own phone. If they are $50 away from hitting the next commission tier, they should see that before their last client of the day. It turns compensation from a mystery into a game they can actively win.
And what about retail sales? That is notorious for causing arguments. Stylists recommend products, but the tracking often gets lost at the front desk during the checkout rush.
Exactly. If a stylist spends 10 minutes educating a client on a specific shampoo, and that client buys it at the counter, the stylist needs to know they are getting credited for that sale instantly. By separating service commissions from product commissions and automating the calculation, you eliminate the human error at the register. The stylist sees the credit on their personal app immediately. It builds trust and actually incentivizes them to sell more retail because they see the direct correlation between their effort and their earnings.
Tips are another area where things get murky, especially with pooling. How do you handle that without causing friction among the staff?
You offer flexibility and absolute clarity. Different salons run different tip models. Some split tips equally, some weight them by the hours worked, and others weight them based on the specific revenue generated by each stylist. The key is to automate these calculations and let the stylists see the breakdown. When they can log in and see exactly how the tip pool was calculated for that day or week, the suspicion disappears. There are no more questions about where the money went because the system shows the formula and the output clearly.
That makes sense for W-2 employees, but many salons run a hybrid model with booth renters. How do you manage both without creating an administrative nightmare?
You cannot treat booth renters like employees, legally or operationally. They need a completely separate workflow. They need rent tracking, automated lease payment logging, and independent scheduling control. When you try to force booth renters into a standard employee payroll system, you end up with compliance issues and frustrated independent contractors. Giving them their own dedicated portal within the larger salon system keeps the boundaries clean and the operations smooth.
Let us move to scheduling. This is usually the source of daily friction. Stylists want flexibility, but owners need coverage. How do you balance those two competing needs?
It starts with giving stylists control over their own calendar templates. If a stylist needs to adjust their recurring schedule, they should be able to input those preferences directly. But we also have to respect the owner's time. For instance, instead of building a schedule from scratch every week, a simple tool that allows an owner to copy a baseline schedule with a single click saves hours of administrative work. From there, you just manage the exceptions.
What do you mean by exceptions?
Things like sick days, vacations, or sudden split shifts. If a stylist needs next Thursday afternoon off, they should be able to request that change through the system. Once approved, the online booking engine must update instantly. If the sync is not real-time, you get double bookings, which frustrates the client, stresses the stylist, and makes the salon look unprofessional. When the schedule flows automatically into the booking system, everyone stays on the same page without constant back-and-forth texting.
That brings us to the third pillar, which I find the most fascinating: ownership. The idea of letting a stylist feel like they are running a business within a business. How does software actually facilitate that feeling?
By giving them access to their own data. In a traditional setup, the owner holds all the metrics. The stylist has no idea what their client retention rate is, what their average ticket value is, or how their numbers compare month over month. By providing each stylist with a personal dashboard, you empower them. They can track their own growth, see their tips accumulating, and understand their performance. It changes their mindset from being an hourly worker to being an active partner in the business.
You also mentioned using technology to help them grow their personal brand, like matching clients and capturing reviews. How does that work in practice?
Think about how new clients book online. Usually it is random. But if you use intelligent routing, you can match a new client with a stylist based on service specialty. If a stylist excels at creative color, the system routes those specific bookings to them. This helps them build a specialized book of business faster. Furthermore, when a client leaves a great review, the system should prompt them to mention the stylist by name. Those reviews get tied directly to the stylist's profile. They are building a digital portfolio of their work and reputation right there inside the salon's system.
It sounds like you are helping them build their career, but as an owner, wouldn't you be worried that you are making them too independent? If they build this amazing personal brand and portfolio, won't they just leave and take their clients with them?
It is a common fear, but the reality is actually the opposite. When you give a stylist this level of support, they become highly invested in the ecosystem you have provided. If they leave, they are not just leaving a job, they are leaving behind their transparent tip tracking, their automated review portfolio, their client health dashboards, and their seamless booking flow. They would have to start over from scratch. By providing them with tools that make their daily life easier and more profitable, you create an environment where they want to stay. You align their personal success with the salon's success.
So instead of trying to control them by keeping them in the dark, you retain them by empowering them.
Exactly. Trust and empowerment are much stronger retention tools than restriction and obscurity.
Let us look at the financial impact of this shift. If a salon owner implements this stylist-centric approach, what does the return on investment look like?
The numbers are eye-opening. If you run a 10-chair salon and you have a 60% turnover rate, you are replacing 6 stylists a year. At an average cost of $5,000 to recruit, hire, and train a new stylist, that is $30,000 out the door annually. If you can reduce that turnover rate down to 20%, you are only replacing 2 stylists. That is a direct savings of $20,000 in recruitment costs alone. But it goes deeper than that. When a stylist leaves, they often take a portion of their client list with them. The loss of those clients can easily cost a salon another $20,000 to $30,000 in lost revenue. So, by keeping your team happy and stable, you are looking at a $50,000 positive swing for the business.
It is a massive difference. It shows that investing in the experience of the person standing at the chair is not just a nice thing to do, it is a fundamental business strategy.
It really is. The wellness and beauty industry relies entirely on the relationship between the service provider and the client. If you do not support the provider, the relationship suffers, and the business ultimately fails.
It seems the future of salon management is shifting away from pure oversight and moving toward partnership and enablement. The software we use needs to reflect that shift.
Absolutely. The era of managing by monitoring is winding down. The future belongs to platforms that facilitate collaboration, transparency, and mutual growth.
Thank you for sharing these insights. It gives us a lot to think about regarding how we structure our businesses and support our teams.
It was a pleasure. I look forward to our next conversation, where we will dive into how salons can protect their profit margins even as operating costs continue to rise.